Hi, this is Tina Powell, host of In the Suite, where I sit down with top women leaders and some of the biggest names in the financial services and the wealth management industry. Together, we'll discover some of their best secrets and top strategies to grow great business, build a strong brand, and lead teams in the 21st century. I hope you'll enjoy hearing their amazing personal stories of triumph, trepidation, and transformation in hopes of becoming better leaders ourselves. The time for you to lead is now, and you're in the suite. Hey everybody, Tina here. Today's episode is one that I think will be very useful to you since the world is literally asking me, hey Tina, how is Excell? Excell is the yearly conference for Carson Group, which took place in Las Vegas at the Cosmopolitan from October 12th to the 14th, 2021. This was Excell 2021 and their 37th conference. These opinions are my own and in no way affiliated with Carson Group or any Carson entity. I'm also not receiving any compensation for bringing this information to you. Before I get into my 12 tips, let me give you my overall impressions about Excell 2021. This was my first conference in nearly 2 years. And for a lot of you listening who may be on the fence about attending in-person conferences or not, I hope that you'll find the information on this podcast very useful to you. This, again, was Carson's 37th Excell conference. Really super hard to believe. That's a mighty long time. And while I have been to a lot of conferences over the last decade, this was my first Excell. It was also one of the best conferences in financial services I've ever been to for so many reasons. I should also mention that it was hybrid, so there was an in-person component to it as well as the virtual component. But let me tell you what were the things that really stood out to me before we get into the 12 tips. First is Carson Group's leadership team, headed by CEO and founder Ron Carson, one of my most favorite people in the world. And to see him and his dog Nellie on stage, walking around, shaking hands, hugging, taking pictures, showed off Ron's warmth and humility. For someone so accomplished and so successful, I find Ron to be so well-grounded, so giving and deeply rooted in the happiness of others. He started out this conference by saying the following. It was a wonderful way to begin. And I quote, "The future has never been brighter than it is today." That was the whole theme throughout the conference. It was an amazing place to be. I also had the privilege of spending time with Terry Shepard, president of Carson Group, who I interviewed in the suite back for episode 11. Today we're at episode 58, just to give you a little context. Terry, too, understands how to be such a giver. She's a true champion for women in this industry. I'll get on to talk a little bit about the Women's Leadership Lunch in my 12 tips. Aaron Shaban, also president, I had the opportunity to speak to him at the first time attendee cocktail hour, where I also found Jamie Hopkins before he cut off his long locks to donate to raise money for cancer. Jamie also shared with us an incredible message about his sister undergoing her own chemotherapy. So we're all praying for her quick recovery. Carson Group raised money for cancer and other nonprofits that I'll also talk about. Second is that this conference was very well organized. I mean organized. This was, again, a hybrid conference, meaning that the program had that in-person and virtual component. There were nearly 1,000 people there in person, but because of the venue, I never felt crowded. Before I arrived, I uploaded my proof of vaccination status, and every day I certified my health status on a mobile app by asking a few questions. conference. There was hand sanitizers everywhere. Everyone was mask gloved at the food station. There were people in masks literally serving you even coffee. Food was fresh and healthy. There was an emphasis on natural foods like nuts and berries and fruits and even protein shakes. And just throughout the conference, everything from all the sanitary and COVID requirements were there. And I felt very, very comfortable. But one of my most important observations were the people, right? The people make the conference. The people make the event. And while the keynote speakers, President George Bush, Phantom actress Sandra Joseph, Charity Water founder Scott Harrison, Dr. Shah, all of these were sensationals. The attendees of Excell 2021 made this event come alive. You can check out my Twitter at Tina C. Powell. You can also look for me on LinkedIn. I just put out a wonderful compilation today of some of my favorite memories from Carson Group that really captures the essence. Carson partners, sponsors, speakers, attendees, influencers, everyone was so cordial and welcoming to one another. It was a very collegiate and welcoming, inclusive environment where you really never felt alone or isolated. And I will get into talking about the marketing panel, where I had the pleasure of joining Mary Kay Gluck, Carson Group's Chief Marketing Officer, Abby Salome, Diana Cabrices, Janet Laveau. Indeed, this was really a privilege and an honor to be part of this world-class event. And now I would love to share my 12 takeaways from Carson Group's Excell. The first and the most important, institute a code of conduct. Carson Group not only instituted a code of conduct, but they read it aloud on stage and made it very clear which actions, behaviors, and language was not okay. Again, according to Jamie Hopkins, Sonia Dreisler, who was also here in the suite with us, helped to inform these principles. Personally, and as a woman, clearly articulating what was off limits was a very powerful step in the right direction. And I don't think that you need to have a large gathering to institute a code of conduct. So I recommend it even for small gatherings of just a dozen or so people. Again, Sonia Dreisler helped to inform this code of conduct. And I really want to applaud Carson Group for coming out with a bang and letting us know what was okay and what wasn't. It was a powerful way to start off the conference. So that's tip number one. Tip number two is give back and support a cause. Philanthropy is at the heart of Carson's culture. This is an organization that promotes giving in everything they do. You've probably heard of Ron and Jeannie's nonprofit called Dreamweaver. It's a charity that is dedicated to fulfilling the dreams of seniors who are terminally ill. Well, this year's Excell 2021 raised money to support a lot of nonprofit organizations, including the Uplift Foundation of Nevada. We literally also saw Jamie Hopkins shave off his head to donate his hair and funds to No Kid Hungry. And while there was no pressure of any kind to give, I think that everyone in attendance found a way to do something good for someone else. So again, tip number two, giving back and supporting a cause was a fantastic takeaway from Excell 2021. Number three, promote your hashtag and use it. The event hashtag Excell 2021 was promoted throughout the conference, and both attendees and speakers, everyone was encouraged to use it. There was a big FinTwit contingent, so a lot of posting, sharing, and engagement was happening behind the scenes on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. And I heard personally from people who couldn't get to Excell 2021 how much they enjoyed in seeing pictures and videos from the conferences, especially slides from the keynotes and some really great takeaways. So promote your event hashtag and use it was tip number three. Tip number four, drop the mask, the non-COVID kind. Broadway actress Sandra Joseph had a keynote and was extraordinary. She spent 10 years, 6 days a week, playing the role of Christine Daae in Phantom of the Opera. It was a dream role that propelled her into the opportunity of a lifetime, but one, in her words, that really created almost an identity crisis of sorts. So Sandra talked about the feeling of being not good enough and being constantly under pressure that we need to cover up and mask ourselves in a certain way in order to please others. And while this could be its own podcast episode, I will share an affirmation of hers that really, really stuck. And I quote, "I'm not here to prove myself. I'm here to be myself." Wow. Those words sent shockwaves throughout the audience. Again, I'm not here to prove myself. I'm here to be myself. She also said, remember, we are cast in a role of a lifetime. Nobody else can play us. And that was such a powerful, powerful takeaway. So again, tip number 4, drop the mask, the non-COVID kind. Tip number 5, don't be afraid of work that has no end. Don't be afraid of work that has no end. Scott Harrison, founder of Charity Water, went from making rain at nightclubs to literally making rain in the poorest of locations throughout Africa, Ethiopia, and other countries. His vision at Charity Water is bold. Try to bring clean water to everyone on earth before he dies. We saw this play out in actual pictures, videos. Many of them were young children and women with tumors the size of grapefruits, and how all of these illnesses and maladies were linked to 28 different diseases that could be linked back to bad water. He also shared, meaning Scott Harrison, shared another alarming statistic. Nearly 40 billion hours in Africa are spent fetching water back and forth to villages by women only. He shared and showed the entire communities being transformed by clean water. And Scott Harrison, through the power of his examples, really championed the idea of using our time and talents in the service of others, no matter what the cause. Again, a very, very powerful part of Excell 2021. Number 6, explore your creative talents. Explore your creative talents. Ron Carson's interview and conversation with President George W. Bush was mind-blowing. I wish I could have tweeted. I wish I could have brought my computer to take notes. Unfortunately, I couldn't. All of our electronics, all of our belongings were actually locked up. So this is by recalling from memory, but it's not too hard. First off, both Ron and President Bush really adore dogs. In fact, Nellie, Ron's dog, was literally on stage with the both of them, and President Bush had no problem petting Nellie several times during the conversation. A big highlight here was talking about the president's love for painting that was inspired by Winston Churchill, which began after he left in office in 2009. So that's when President Bush started painting. He literally hired a teacher, maybe even several teachers, to help him get started. He paints veterans, war heroes, past presidents, and most recently, the portraits of American immigrants, 43 in all, in a book titled Out of Many One: Portraits of America's Immigrants. It's a powerful collection of not only oil paintings, but also inspiring stories on the journeys of, again, 43 different America's immigrants featured. President Bush knows these people. Their stories are very, very moving. And it was just a very inspiring discussion around being a human being and making a meaningful contribution to society. Again, I felt that was a theme all throughout. I'm not sure if President Bush will paint Nellie. Ron did ask, so we shall see. I will keep you abreast. Number 7, empower others and build a plan to let other people help you. This comes directly from Terry Shepard, president of Carson Group at the Women's Leadership Lunch, Driving Female Growth in Financial Services. The panel consisted of Steph Bogan from Limitless, Jen Rutley from Hidden Insights, and Julie Harrington from Charles Schwab. A main theme of this discussion is how women need to show up, and show up not just at work. Terry reminded us that we don't have to do everything. There's help all around us. But at the same time, we need to empower the people around us if they're going to step up. We also need to be comfortable with who we are and keep our head on straight as much as we can. Boy, did I love that advice. This luncheon exercise was also part of the panel here. Steph Bogan's above the line exercise, you can also hear it here in the suite on episode 36, was a fabulous way to instill these principles and get us all focused, women and men, because they were both in the audience, maintaining our focus to let go of the small things so that we could do the big. Again, empower others and build a plan to let other people help you. Number 8, make diversity and inclusion a reality by making it an actual business goal. This was a stellar panel that included Suzanne Syracuse, David Cantor, Jackie Campbell, Phil Laughlin, and Ron Carson. I'll take some of the words of Suzanne Syracuse in that she was talking about how investors want to know that your firm supports a diversity and inclusion effort, or they will look somewhere else. She, meaning Suzanne, shared some tactical advice for advisors focused on participating in diversity and inclusion efforts and she gave several ideas. Here's a few of them. Number 1 is participating in an online career fair. There's one called Diversitas. Diversitas aims to make the financial planning profession and the wealth management industry more inclusive through education, mentorship, and human connection. So you can look for that. She also talked about the CFP board career fair and participating there. Suzanne also gave the recommendation for firms to think about their messaging and their language that they use for job descriptions, which may potentially be focused on one gender. So she talked about these strategies totality using the online career fair, either through Diversitas, the CFP board, looking at the messaging and language around your job descriptions, and literally making diversity and inclusion an actual business goal. So again, some really great strategies, and you, of course, can connect with Suzanne and listen to her podcast as well, to the big reveal for some of these other ideas. Okay, number 9, consider a new business model for your business. Michael Kitces gave a fantastic session on the 5 industry trends shaping wealth management, and I swear you could hear a pin drop. Among them, Michael totally and completely nerded out on the math and the entire wealth management ecosystem. I'm not even going to try to repeat what he said, but specifically he talked about it as in relation to charging an assets under management model. And what I took away from the conversation was this: the need for financial advisors to consider a new business model for their business that includes subscription fees for their clients. He argued that, in fact, since most advisors are focused on the same clients, meaning baby boomers and retirees, that eventually the financial advisors may in fact run out of clients. So he urged the use of a subscription model for clients that may not have significant assets to invest, but ones that you could actually serve profitably. So again, that was really great information. You all know that you can follow Michael Kitces on Twitter and subscribe to his newsletter for all of the amazing information that he's offering and sharing with the world. So number 10, diet is the food you've eaten in your entire life and all your habits. I swear the earth shook when we heard Dr. Shah say this on stage. He gave an unbelievable presentation about wellness, health, mindset. It was fantastic. The big takeaway from Dr. Shah was this: all the food you eat will either make you or break you. And he urged us to consider various resources. I took down these as a few titles for books that I need to read. What the Heck Should I Eat by Mark Hyman, MD. He says that that's a total game changer. The Blue Zone's Solution. Dr. Shah, again, is encouraging us, all of us, to eat a plant-based diet. 70% of our daily intake should be from plants. 30% should be on protein. We need to focus on good fats because they will help reduce and reverse disease. A big takeaway from Dr. Shah: we have to eliminate sugar from our diet. It's found in ketchup, mayo, all restaurants, packaged foods. Ideally, if we can do some intermittent fasting and eat all of our calories within an 8-hour window, he also prescribes to that. So Dr. Shah gave a great talk, and I hope to integrate a lot of what he said into my daily practice, and I hope you do too. Okay, we've got 2 more left to go. 11, love what you do and make it obvious. Bam. These were the words of John DeJulius, author of The Relationship Economy. This automatically made me think of social media and really being able to use social media and a lot of your content creation for showing, again, his words, loving what you do and making it obvious. John encouraged advisors to be a partner of their clients that they can't live without by being a resource broker. I love those words. Basically, being a resource broker means that you're going to make introductions, you're going to tell your clients and share resources, where to find things. He also prescribed to over communicating and being in the certainty business. He said that we need to uncommoditize ourselves, be experts at what we do, and how discounting is the tax we pay for being average. So he said, definitely don't discount your fees. And that we meaning everyone in the financial advisory business, needs to be in the certainty business. We need to communicate clearly, and we compete in experience wars, not price wars. He ended with this: act as if today is the day you will be remembered for how you treat others. Again, it goes back to this idea that throughout the Excell conference was the theme in what you were doing to help other people. Which brings me to tip number 12. Tip number 12 comes from the marketing panel, specifically the marketing powerhouse panel, where I was part of a marketing dream team with Mary Kate Gulick, Chief Marketing Officer for Carson, Abby Salame, who's been the former chief marketing officer for many firms you all know the names of, big firms in financial services, Diana Cabrisis, enterprise sales for Snappy Kraken, and Janet Laveau, editor at Think Advisor. This was a fantastic panel, and tip number 12 is this, and it comes from me: get your mind right for marketing. Mind meaning M. Who matters. You can't possibly be all things to all people. Before you do any type of marketing, you really need to think and define your ideal client precisely. At C-Suite Social Media, we call this your ICP, your ideal client profile. You can think of this as your buyer persona. It contains demographic data like age, geography, net worth, but also too psychographic data like interests and behaviors. And it's okay to have more than one persona. Let's get to I. I is interest. What are the interests of the people who you serve? For Carson Group, this was, clearly articulated: hiking, wellness, mindset, meditation, giving back, right? Think of those things in terms of your clients. That was the I. N is, what do your clients need? What do they need from you that only you can deliver? Think about how you can make this a reality for your clients and message this throughout your different content channels. And D, which brings us to D. D, what is your deliverable? Is it text, video, audios, or pictures? Is it a combination of the above? Again, content, as I explained on the panel, it comes in 4 different mediums: text, video, audio, pictures. You can use a combination of both. But think about not the content that you prefer, but rather what is the type of content that your clients prefer. And will it be paid, earned, shared, or owned? That's the peso model. Your firm needs to have a diversified portfolio of content creation in 2021, 2022. And I'm going to urge you, yes, I'm going to urge you to create a podcast. Of course, I'm biased here, but here's the logic. While most people believe that podcasts are saturated, they're not. Right now, there are only 2 million podcasts compared to 200 million websites. And if I said to you, if you were going to start a business today, you'd say to me, yep, Tina, I definitely need a new website. And I would say, well, yeah, there's 200 million of them. How are you going to compete? So you can't use the same logic around podcasts. Get out there, attract new audiences, build trust, and be everywhere. If being everywhere is important to you in 2022, then this is a non-negotiable item. So there you have it, the 12 tips. Again, number 1, institute a code of conduct. 2, give back and support a cause. Number 3, promote your event hashtag and use it. Number 4, drop the mask, the non-COVID kind. Number 5, don't be afraid of work that has no end. Number 6, explore your creative talents. Number 7, empower others and build a plan to let other people help you. Number 8, make diversity and inclusion a reality by making it an actual business goal. Number 9, consider a new business model for your business. Number 10, diet is all of the food you've eaten in your entire life and all your habits. 11, love what you do and make it obvious. And number 12, get your mind right for marketing. So I hope you enjoyed these tips, everyone. Let me know whether or not that you did or not, but I hope that you did. Sincerely, it was an unbelievable experience. So please, I urge you to get out, be part of the conversation. You all have the hashtag Excell 2021. You can see, no need to have FOMO. You can actually, see on social media some of the things that you might have missed, and definitely get there for 2022. So with that, I'm signing off here. Great to have you all today in the suite, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much. You're listening to In the Suite, a podcast that shares amazing stories of women in business and the financial services and the wealth management industry. Our producers are Tina Powell and Kevin Hirshhorn. Our editor-at-large is Kevin Hirshhorn. Our content writers are Dimple Rashandani, Sarah Smirker, Carmen Varner, and Tina Powell. Our research and technical assistant is Sarah Smirker. In the Suite podcast is sponsored by C-Suite Social Media, a high-performance marketing agency for RIAs and fintech companies in the wealth management industry. You can visit csuitesocialmedia.com to learn more. And thank you so much for listening and subscribing. We've got listeners in 8 165 cities and 47 countries as of today, October 24th, 2021. We are so grateful to you, especially for your 5-star reviews. This podcast was inspired by you and created for women who want to lead boldly. So please let us know how you enjoyed this episode and share your thoughts on LinkedIn and Twitter, Instagram, #InTheSuite. You can also follow Carson Group on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Visit www.carsongroup.com. And always, if you would like to share the name of a rock star in financial services we should interview in 2022, please send it to me, Tina, at InTheSuitePodcast.com. Again, thank you so much for listening and subscribing to In the Suite.